like to thank those who make this show possible, starting with the great folks here at the Veteran. Starting with the great folks at Enlisted 9 Fight Company and Road Armor. Those are the ones that really make this possible, in addition to Warrior Media Solutions and BooHammer.com. That's your ones that make it possible. I don't know what happened to my intros. I had them all pre-recorded. They played great last week. They did not. They were not on my list this week. But as you can tell, we are 12 minutes late for starting the show. Sorry about that. We were dealing with major emergencies. In fact, I think we have hurricanes going on, all kind of crazy things like that.
Live from Virginia.
Virginia's fine now. I think it's North Carolina. There we go. So, anyways, everyone, welcome. September 13th. What is that? Someone's phone is vibrating. September 13th, 2018. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes and your ears and your eyes. A little bit late, but we are so glad that you are joining us tonight here on all of our media outlets. I want to welcome first and my good buddy, my brother from another mother, across from me as you look over to my right, your left. None. There he is, wearing his Enlisted 9, as I am also sporting there. And, of course, between us, the rose between two thorns, Miss Sarah Lee joining us tonight. Hello, Sarah. How you doing?
Hi. Thanks so much for having me again. I'm so excited.
You sound like it. You're bubbling with excitement. That's
Sorry, I'll tone it down.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure.
I saw a promo that they said for the Never Enough Time Ever.
Yeah.
So to be on the show with the boys, they make my life so awesome.
It's complete.
That's it. That's it.
We are excited that you're here, and the reason we're excited that you're here is because, one, we've been watching you for a hot minute. And it's been 2 years, the deuce, since we've had you on. And we've had you on for a couple of updates in the mix. We've gone some trials and tribulation.
Yes.
And here we are, as promised.
Yes,
as you
as promised.
Us.
That's right.
Challenged us that you would be here right after your completion, just to rub it in our face, that in the face of any naysayer, any doubter, anybody, that you said, hey, I think I'm going to learn how to ride a bike. 3 weeks later, I think I can do this across America. Let's go. And here you are.
Right.
How many people do you think are in your club?
In my club, my supporters, encouragers, that sort of thing.
No. In the club of, I rode across the country on a bicycle. How many people are in that club?
I'm not sure the exact number. I know it's been done. I think it's probably over 10,000 people have done it. I would say the trail I used has been around for quite some time, and there's been others. Now, after 3 weeks of training and no experience, I don't know about that much, but
I mean, do you think the number's that high? I mean, is there 10,000 Navy SEALs?
No.
I don't think so, right?
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a high number. You're like,
It might be. I really don't know. I didn't really look into it before I left. I just knew I was going to do it, and I just I did. I'm done. Yeah.
I was talking to someone the other day about you, and
all bad, I hope. No.
Well, you should have been there. And one of the things I said, in the conversation was, how many people do you know that have ridden across America? And so they didn't know any, and they were like, well, how many do you know? And I'm like, well, I know a couple, but I only know of 2 females. Both females are veterans, combat veterans. And, I'm like, Nico, she's amazing. She lives here in Texas, married to an awesome Green Beret, fantastic family. She did it on the Sea to Shining Sea tour, which is part of World Team Sports. She did it on a hand cycle due to her leg injuries, and but she had an amazing support. There was a big team of people. There was I want to say 12 to 15 riders. They had SAG vehicles. I mean, it was super impressive, and hand cycle. But you did it partially solo. You had a teammate for a period of time, but like we all know, not everyone can hang. And then two, when like you had to forge out on your own and finish up because you needed to get it done, and you did it self-contained. And one of the things I was saying, and we're going to let you talk here and kind of walk people through like the last little bit of it, but you did it with only 25 pounds of gear. Like,
I did narrow it down a lot.
like
it's amazing how little you actually need. It really is.
Well, that's. I don't know if I could walk around my town with under 25 pounds of gear, because I need a phone, I need keys, I need a wallet, I need a laptop, I need bottle.
Well, your phone is basically dual purpose.
And so like I'm gonna shut up and let you kind of walk everyone through the last little couple legs of the trip, and then I have a bunch of questions, and you just kind of touched on some of them. So let's get to you. Tell us what it's like now to be finished and how you finished. Tell us how you finished and what it's like to be finished.
Well, first of all, after being finished, it's a whole different ball game once it's over. But nearing the conclusion of it, I think it really hit me that it was almost over when I crested that final summit in the Sierra Nevadas, Carson Pass, and it was a doozy. That took everything I had. That climb was intense. I swear it only got steeper and more narrow and such toward the top, but it took everything. And then when I got up there, I had to take a moment, and I just kind of looked back and I thought about all those massive climbs. And this was my last one. This was my last mountain, my last massive hurdle, if you will. And I just thought about what happened during those climbs. I never walked my bike once. That was a promise I made to myself before I left. I just wanted to add that extra layer of challenge for myself in there. And it really dawned on me, like, that is my last big challenge of this trip. And it's literally all downhill from here. And I'm going to be approaching this finish line, this elusive, beautiful Golden Gate Bridge that I'd never seen in my life, that I've traveled over 4,000 miles to get to. And I started getting really excited, but there was definitely underlying sadness for it being over. That lifestyle made a scary amount of sense to me. And I knew I would miss it. So having finished, I miss it so much already. But yeah.
You're touching on something really, really profound here. And the reason why I'm interrupting you, and I apologize, is because you were talking about the minimalistic lifestyle. And
yes.
A couple years ago, I had the pleasure of speaking to some lawmakers. And one of the questions they asked me was in relation to homeless veteran issues. And they were like, I don't understand with VA mortgage benefits and all this stuff, like, why is there like a homeless veteran problem? And how come we cannot solve that? And one of the things that, I said to them was like, one, you're attacking this from I think, like, the wrong direction. You are asking people that have spent the majority of their adult life, their formative years, that are comfortable in austere environments where they feel the safety and security of being outside. Like, when you think of, like, did you feel, in the barracks, the barracks are the barracks, but like when you're in the Army, like when you're out in the field, like that's what's up. Like, as an infantry guy, like when I'm in the patrol base, man, I felt amazing. I was on top of beam, everything was sharp, everything was clear. I made my patrol base in the location that I had the avenues of a high-speed avenues of approach covered with machine gun fire. I had my sectors of fire laid out. I never felt safer. I never felt more secure. And you put me out in the woods, man, I'm like where I want to be. Yeah. It's not the walls
it's like beautiful. Making
Right.
something out of nothing, having nothing and having to figure something out. It's so gratifying. Like the self-sufficiency aspect is like the greatest gift you can.
Was it that or was it the simplicity, the lack of distractions?
Both.
Yeah.
Well, the lifestyle is so very simple. I mean, you know what you need to do each day. You have to figure out how to make it from point A to point B alive in some cases, honestly. You have to figure out how to I guess the only decisions you have to make are more survival oriented and very bare bones. It's not what am I going to wear today, or when should I eat, or what. You don't have to. All those tiny little mundane trite decisions are taken out of the equation, and you have these big things in place. You already know what you need to do, and then you can tackle so much in your mind. Instead of making these tiny little decisions, you can enjoy the experience of the day rather than fixate on all these little tiny mundane things.
You sound like someone that just came. You sound like someone that just came back from combat, right? That spends a year over in a combat zone, especially in a remote fob or base where they don't have anything, and they come back, and what do we all complain about, right? It's like the boring life of all the stuff we have to worry about.
There's so much stuff,
right? And
the commercial stuff, and like, oh God, I'm back.
There goes the phone. All right,
that's
all right. That's okay. The video is great on.
I got
the
video. My sentence.
The video on your phone is much better than I've seen on most of our guests on their computers. Wouldn't you say, Toby? I mean, it's actually
it's solid.
The video's solid, but
back watching the playback.
Freaking better be good. This phone was. Oh my God, the S9 is so expensive, but whatever.
Yeah. But
so like you're back. You finished. I was trying to put up. We just put up in the chat on this is the Facebook chat. I just put up the link because in your last blog post, you have a picture of you pointing to the summit sign at Carson Pass. You just brought it up. I know you've sent me only a handful of pictures.
94.
Yeah.
Yes, I detected the sarcasm in that handful comment.
I was scrolling through them as fast as I can, trying to find like pictures. But I on your last blog post, it's in there. So the link to aviciouscycle.org is up in our chat room for people to click on it and go and look more about. All right.
I want to recap. We've had a few people joining, Toby, as we've been sharing this out. So I want to give people the 30-second elevator pitch. So for those that don't know, haven't seen Sarah on our show before, Sarah is a Iraq war vet. She is a super patriot that literally kind of woke up one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to buy a bike and I'm going to learn how to ride it." And quickly there, and Sarah, please correct me if I get this wrong in this abridged version, but pretty much said, "Hey, I'm going to ride across country, see America, do this in honor of all soldiers, raise awareness, also to honor some close friends that you had lost, and just kind of see what this country's all about that I went and fought for," and then did it from Norfolk, Virginia, I believe, to roughly around that. Yorktown, Virginia, to San Francisco with a little detour down to the Grand Canyon, I think.
Yes.
Had an accident, got run off the road. All that happened, but you went back, you finished it, met a lot of the great people you talked about, and here you are.
Yes. And that was a great show, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, I want to bring people up to speed at the same time. My printer,
that's Zach.
Yeah, my printer went off right when I was finishing, so I was like, got done just in time. But
yeah, I just finished. I crossed the Golden Gate, and that was really special. It really was. That bridge is absolutely beautiful. The way the haze creeps through it, it's like, I don't know. It's almost seductive, honestly. I don't know how a bridge. I don't know. My next blog post is coming up. You'll see, because I have quite a description. Anyway,
the marine layer there it's kind of mystical, right? It does have that Edgar Allan Poe thing, and it is a big bridge. It really is one of the wonders of America. When you think about it, it's like one of the destinations. When people say San Francisco, they're not like, oh, like
the Transamerica building or something like that. Yeah.
Right. Even though that's a big part of it. But when you think of San Francisco, you think of the Golden Gate Bridge.
It's Golden Gate and Lombard Street. That's in Alcatraz as much as things attributed to it as much as Alcatraz, Golden Gate and Lombard Street.
Right.
Curvy Street.
Yeah, that bridge is something else, and it was pretty surreal. There were I had a bunch of Legion riders come out last minute and escort me.
I saw that. How was that? Did that
awesome?
How'd that word get out there? How did they? Because you seem to had acquired quite a big crew to do that one last leg with you across the bridge.
Well, just a few days before I went to the War Memorial Building downtown, and I talked to the commissioner of the building as well as the commander of one of the San Francisco American Legions. His name is Nelson. So the three of us made some calls, and with the help of a guy named Eddie Ramirez, and they just called some Legion riders, and they're like, "Dude, we're there," Told them what I was doing, and like a whole group of people showed up at like a day and a half prior notice, So it was unbelievable. We staged it all at the north end of the bridge. At Vista Point, it's called Vista Point, and then they escorted me over the bridge. I took the bike lane. There's a bicycle lane, and then they took the whole right lane and just stayed next to me. But I have to say, I maintained a pretty good speed. I was like, I hope y'all don't stall out on my account, But
move more quicklier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then even so we got off the bridge and started. Oh my God. You have a motorcycle too, so I could just see out there like it's going crazy. But we got off the bridge and then started navigating through San Francisco, and they were just blocking intersections. I mean, I'm on my bike. I'm trying to get maintain a good speed and everything. There were San Francisco is the craziest hilly street layout. It's so steep.
Yeah.
It's amazingly steep. Like you just look up, like I can't even believe this. So there were some inclines heading down to the Pacific. But there were also some declines, and there was one where I caught up to the bikers, and I'm like dinging my bell, and they're like, like, oh crap, she's right here, and we were just flying down this hill, and we circled around, and there was the Pacific on my right, and I stood up on my pedals, and I took my hands off my handlebars, and I just put them out. I just put my arms out, and I just flew down that road with those bikers around with the Pacific, like no hands standing out. It was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. I just felt like I was flying. I just couldn't believe it was happening.
No, watch some of the video there, and pretty neat stuff. And then like taking the bike and dipping the bike, kind of baptizing the bike in the Pacific. You went Atlantic to Pacific, and you just kind of had that moment there. And the funny thing is, I'm watching the video in my mind, I'm like, I wonder if she's. And I was trying to look at your feet, so it's like walking.
I took my shoes and socks off.
Yeah, so like walking in sand and cleats is probably not like fun.
No, I walked my bike in my shoes. It was so deep, that sand. I mean, it was. I almost, honest to God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I almost hit muscle failure. That beach was over a quarter mile long from the stairs to the ocean. And I had all my gear on my bike. It was just sinking, and I was just pushing. It was so intense. The weight of it with the sand and everything. And every step was a half step because of the sand. And everyone was just like, you got this, you got these. I'm just pushing, and I'm like hunched over. Everything I had, it took, because you don't use a lot of upper body on these trips. So my arms were like, what are you doing? What does this mean? So I had my bike going, and it was so intense. I got down to the ocean, and I took my shoes off, and I just threw them to the ground. I was just like, this is it. I'm getting in this thing, and the support was there. It was just surreal. And when the water hit my feet, and I went from that crazy, like that struggle of pushing the bike down, and then the water washed over, I really thought about my friends, that gave their lives so I could be here. And it's like, they were so much of my fuel on this, just all the soldiers that we've lost and continue to lose, the friends I've lost to suicide since getting back, the friends I lost overseas. I just thought all their faces just flooded into my mind, and it was really intense. It was very emotional. I kept myself together, but God, I just felt them in those waves, and I knew that they were proud of me, you know.
Yeah,
I knew it.
absolutely. I mean, you have built you had a tight circle, I think, of friends and family before you went. And, just from our talks, I think it's safe to say, I'd be safe to assume this, that your family has grown quite a bit through all of the people you've met, state to state, town to town, folks like this that came out there, taking time out of their day, getting up off the couch, doing whatever they did, investing time and money and everything to do that.
Yes.
It has got to just make you feel just super loved and appreciated. And I could imagine that when you got down to that water, it had to be a pretty emotional experience. Because it was thousands of miles of emotions, right? Flooding, almost like
Yeah, over
washing over you.
4,000, and just the Appalachians, Ozarks, the Great Plains, the Rockies, the desert, the high desert, Great Basin, and the Sierra Nevadas, and then California, the Grand Canyon. I mean, it's just crazy. And I know that, I mean, that the family that I gained on this is mind blowing. And it's not just me. It's not because it's me. It's not me. Like, everybody has this family out there, especially vets. Like, we have a family out there bigger than you could ever imagine, you know, and it's easy to forget how much support you really have. It really is.
Right.
But when you put yourself out there, it just comes flooding in. It
Well,
just takes those first steps, you know.
let's talk about that real quick, because one of the things that really kind of stood out to me about your journey, and I guess it was the last time you were on the show.
Oh, yes.
We pledged to support you financially, to to buy beers, right?
Yes.
To buy beers, some whiskey.
Treat veterans.
Yeah, and
Gave me a little side pot there to hook up some vets, and I did, and it was amazing. So thank you, because
one of the things that really kind of stood out at me, in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I hope she treats the 6 or 7 people really, really well. And then I'm seeing these videos and these blog postings, and we have the link for your blog up on our chat right now, and it's linked on our website, www.stuandthenun.com. But on there's all these pictures of you on the ride with some of the most amazing Americans running. I remember talking to you one night, just trying to get an update on you because I was worried, and you were like, "Oh no, like, I'm in this awesome spot. I'm in the middle of nowhere, but this lady just picked me up, and she's driving me to this Italian restaurant, and then I'm gonna like eat this I'm gonna have linguine with shrimp scampi, and I'm gonna go buck wild, and I'm gonna carb load, and this lady's gonna hang out with me." And then, next time I talk to you, you're like, "I just met the most amazing couple. They opened this for me, and they introduced me to blah, 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 blah." And then I'm watching a video of you in some random bar with a bunch of guys singing, like, the national anthem.
Yeah. It's it's not even, none of it's planned. It's crazy.
Troy, we didn't send enough money.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
Yes, you did. Oh my God, you can make money last if a little bit goes up. Well, it wasn't a little bit. First of all, I'm saying the phrase "a little bit" goes a long way. If someone gives you something, you can make that.
Milwaukee Light and PBR can stretch quite a bit.
So tell us about the family we don't know.
The family we don't know, the support system that's out there waiting to support you, that we don't want to pay attention to because we don't want to admit we need help, and we don't know how to talk about stuff. And I'm definitely included there. This whole thing, really, it wasn't the most comfortable thing, putting on Facebook to all my family and friends that I was having these issues. But I waited to do that till I had a plan of attack. And but as soon as I even mentioned something was wrong, which I hated to do, but just the messages, comments, shares, it's overwhelming, almost an overwhelming amount of support. Then when I started going around speaking to VFWs, about what I was going to do and my reasons. I've had a very specific mission for this journey since the beginning, since before I left, and it was post-war healing, healing for me, to honor the fallen and to raise awareness for veteran suicide. And I felt really good about doing it because I was right there myself. I didn't just hear someone's story and be like, wow, that was a really close call, or read a book or something, or watch a YouTube video. I mean, I was really close. I was right there, and I bought that bicycle instead. And the support system just comes out of the woodwork. Like, people just come flying and dropping down on parachutes. We all know about that. So and when you put yourself out there, that's when the magic happens. When you start putting an effort into yourself, when you start kind of taking back control of your life and your happiness, things just fall into place. The right people start gravitating toward you. It's hard to explain. You just have to do it. You just have to put yourself out there, and you will get back what you put out. You will, and tenfold, honestly.
What's so cool is you mentioned that you were going to Zion National Park, and
yes.
My former driver, then RTO, then gunner, on my last Iraqi tour, is a canyoneering guide.
Mm-hmm.
Zion National Park. I love going to Zion. My friends sponsor a trip with Veteran Outdoors every year. We go with the Pappases. Shout out to Mike and Jay and Jeff, Pappas, Las Vegas. And, we go out there and we take, veterans with Veteran Outdoors. And it's amazing. Brian Hamlin, my driver / RTO / gunner, is one of the best guides out there. And you said you're going out there, and I'm like,
yes, I wish I could have. Yeah.
Let me square her away with this badass. You would get like an amazing nearing experience, and you'll be with someone familiar. You'll be with someone like a brother, right? And that was like in my mind. And you're like, oh no, man. So I'm with this whole group of combat veterans, and we're like climbing. You're like sending me pictures, and I'm like, holy smokes!
It just happened. It's so random.
And then, so I tell my boy, I'm like, dude, you need to like connect with these cats. And so here you are connecting people and if you, anyone that's been in like the Zion National Park area, the little village that's outside the gates of Zion is it's a tiny little joint. It's homes and hotels and condos on both sides of the road for about a 1.5 mile stretch, and a couple of restaurants, sprinkling a makeshift grocery store and one really cool pizza joint named after flying monkeys. It's like not a big place. It's a cool place. Yeah. And I'm like, holy, it's like, here we are, and the connections that are being made, like all this stuff was blowing my mind. Obviously Troy and I are sitting here living vicariously through you. We're watching this, and
wow.
No, like I thought I knew the family. No idea.
I didn't.
Like no idea. It's mind blowing, and it's humbling too, because like one of the things that you've stepped out here and put yourself out here for is to get people to connect, so that they see that there's love. You're like, your answer's love, right? Your answer's like, hey, let's get together. Let's, be friendly.
I think my answer is effort, and the result of that is love. It really is, and not just love, but acceptance, connections. There's a depth, to this country.
I think it's connections. I think connections is the biggest one. It's just it's tying people together. No, they're not the only one out there alone. They're not the one that's just, no one knows about, or that there's someone just like them that's been what they've been through that may be next door and they don't even know it. Why am I hearing myself?
That's that connection's like a positivity, right? That's a familiarity, a comfort, like that's empathizing.
Well, and finding reasons to relate it's not a comparison. Don't compare, relate. Like I said, I believe on the last show, it's and it takes a little vulnerability, and someone needs to make the first move, and it's pretty cool. Like, we're really not all that different. And oh, is the echo happening for you guys?
Just you.
Oh, I sound okay on your end. I do.
I hear echo. Sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
I do.
it's good. Okay, the
Right.
sound of my own voice is like, ah! I don't know how y'all do it, but anyway, yeah, it's like part of the reason I was kind of getting bummed was like I really do love this country. I mean, I would have laid down my life for this country. I love it, and I was really starting to feel like pretty divided. It just felt like everyone was hated each other. No one was looking for reasons to like each other. No one listened anymore, and it was really bumming me out. And one of the wonderful things, like this beautiful truth that I discovered for myself and that I want people to know, is that we are not as divided as we think we are. And that is a fact. The people that just stopped randomly, offered to help, do all these things, just to be so kind and generous toward a total stranger, even and the people that barely had anything, to give from what they have, still, just people couldn't wait to do something to help, or it really is amazing. And that was throughout the whole country. There wasn't one section that was nicer, or one section that was more generous or thoughtful, or one section that came up and initiated some questions and conversations. It was throughout the entire nation. Every race, gender, nationality, religious background, upbringing, walk of life, everybody that I ran into, every single person. So
Well, I think
that was really refreshing. It restores your faith in humanity. It really does.
Well, I think that's and I'm about to say something that probably half our listeners are gonna get mad at me for saying, but that's something that, and I'm not a fan of this person. Typically, her comedy doesn't do much for me, but Sarah Silverman kind of went out to make this parody of people that voted for Trump, and she went out with the intent of painting Trump supporters as being idiots, country bumpkins, uneducated, bigoted, ignorant people. And she went out into America in a wonderful cross section of America. And what she found is when you get down to sitting at a coffee table across from somebody, the politics aren't as important as the humanity. When you get down to the basis of interpersonal communication and interpersonal relationships, you find out that if you talk to somebody, it doesn't matter what your viewpoint is, and it doesn't matter what your political leanings are.
Mm-mm.
You're talking to a person, human to human, and you acknowledge that you're talking to another human that deserves the same consideration that you deserve. And
Yes.
people are wonderful people.
It's the civility, like our good friend Matt Goss talks about, right, and sings about.
Matt Goss says it.
Yeah. And I talked about this the other day. I wrote a blog post on Boo Hammer, kind of a reflective of a Live Day / 9/11 post, and I talked about the people covered in dust, right? The people that were the days and the weeks and the months after 9/11, how no one cared about that. And when everyone came out of where those towers fell and covered in dust, nobody cared about. No one even saw. You didn't even see race, right? Everyone looked the same, and we were all in despair and trying to get out of there. When you see the people that were, that got together on Flight 93, they bonded together regardless of any of that for them and for to stop what they wanted to save their lives, hopefully, and also stop what they thought was going to happen. When you look at the attack on the Pentagon, people running from all, including the Secretary of Defense, helping pull people out and doing stuff. They didn't worry about rank and GSA levels and positions or branch, none of that stuff. But you're right, so you hit on something key when and I don't mean to get kind of anti-media conspiracy about here, but I mean the bottom line is when you go out and meet people, then you see what the country's really about, and you're not being fed what they want
Yep.
you to hear. That's what it's all about. You see that we saw it the other day.
Constant.
Right, the other day on the news, you know what a big story was on after
Constant.
Sunday was that Bills fans in Baltimore, after Bills got crushed in Baltimore, the big story in ESPN and everything was how 4 or 5 Bills fans helped push a Ravens guy's truck out from being stuck, and it was like a big thing. These Bill fans helped. They should have. It shouldn't. It didn't matter what team they were down there for.
No, that's
You're
awesome.
You're both fans of the same game. You
Yeah.
both paid money to go to the same game, and you both want to go home.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you help the guy?
Right.
Your guys mentioned, media and now sports. And I think a lot of it is, and we've all been guilty of it, is living vicariously through things rather than living and going out there and experiencing other people and experiencing new places and things. And I always thought, I've felt this actually, I think probably as long as I can remember it, probably since the military, where it was very diverse. And it's like, I think the biggest disservice you can do for yourself is surround yourself with people who are exactly like you. It's just, it like stunts your growth or something. And, it's not all bunnies and unicorns. Like, that's the thing, like having been in the military, you do come to the conclusion or the realization that everybody can be capable of the worst thing, but that mindset can't stop you from going out there and putting yourself out there. And the fear and the anger thing that is as a result of being fed all this negativity and all this stuff every day is taking a toll on us, but it's not true. Like it's this whole facade.
But the flip side of that, Sarah, of the you see what the people are capable of the worst thing. If you're in the military, especially if you go to combat, you see also some of the best things that people are capable of. You see people that step up and risk their lives to pull someone else out of danger, or cover somebody up, or do whatever. We've all seen it, right? It's just these actions, these complete the prime example of selfless service of people who we all know it. You see a person back in garrison, you see people back in peacetime, and you think, you kind of spot who that guy'd probably be a hero or that guy'd probably be a zero, and you kind of based on whatever outer image, how they act, whatever, we get those impressions. But then you get into combat, and the bullets will make a hero and a zero, or the other way around, and people you think would collapse step up, and the people you think would be the shiniest people that have all the perfect gear collapse. So, I think it brings out the best and worst.
What you're capable of.
Yeah, it brings out the best and worst about. And that's what I liked about your trip when we first started talking to you. It wasn't so much, there was a lot of good reasons why you're doing it, but I knew that you would get this is why some people go on these bus tours, and these politicians, sadly, they do these bus, when they actually get on the bus and ride on it, not on planes, is to get out there and meet the people, not to meet what's shoved in front of them. And for a lot of us, that's what's shoved in front of us on a TV or on a viral video, but to go out and talk with people, right? To meet someone sitting on a bench at a theme park, you're worn out, they're worn out, the kids are on the ride, you get talking to them, find out you got something in common. Or you're in the grocery store line, or you open a door for them at the post office, and then you get to talking while you're waiting to ship pack. I mean, it's all over America, but people don't take the time to realize that's really what this country's about.
Yeah, just the little things spark the biggest things. You just gotta, I don't know, be willing to, fan the flames, a bit.
But the good flames, right? The good flames.
Yes, of course. So, but yeah, the generosity and kindness on this thing really did. It warmed my heart a lot. You can get kind of bitter over time, and you also kind of miss being part of something big, having been in the military, especially the camaraderie, the closeness, all that stuff. And you really do miss it. And then when you come back into a society that feels so divided, it just kind of compounds those feelings. And that was a part of why I was getting down. And this journey really did turn that right on its head. It's really amazing. You can start a conversation with anybody,
right,
if you're willing to take the time, make the effort, and listen, just listen. I try to take a little part of someone, each person I meet, with me, good or bad, just, we're always fine tuning ourselves. I think as vets, we're super self-aware. We always want to be a better version of ourselves. I think, and leaving people better than we find them should be a priority, I think.
So you rode 4,000 miles across country, from coast to coast. We have some people that may wonder if that's. Would you recommend that as a diet or workout fitness plan for anybody? Would that be? I'm sure it did great for your calves and everything. Would you recommend cycling for someone that's looking for a way to get back and get into shape, or even
cycling? Yeah. Well, as far as like a long tour, it really depends on how you approach it. If you want it to be super crazy and a little more racy, race-like.
I was about to say, what kind of riding were you
Toby's
doing?
like,
well, I mean,
I'm tracking like a hound dog. Tracking like, yeah, I know.
He was like, I was updating Facebook until you said racy, and I'm like, now what? What are we talking about?
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa,
my bad.
bring it back
Now
in.
that I have your attention, I was gonna say, the physical aspect it is super healthy. It's very cardiovascular. You know, you're not using weights. You know, you're not gonna get ripped. You'll tone a little bit, but it's extremely healthy for your heart. Your quads obviously get pretty crazy, and glutes and other things. And so
what you're saying is your legs are amazing right now.
that's so generous. I mean, what are you drinking anyway?
Yeah, what are you drinking, Toby?
Right hand is Wrench Brewery, family-owned brewery out of Georgetown, Texas, which is a Texas lager. Left hand is a little magic potion
In a Yeti cup. Yep.
Hey.
Yeah, it's extremely healthy cycling, and you could do it up into your you could be as old as you want. I ran into people in their low 70s out there going across the country with their self-supported gear. Like, I just bowed down.
Awesome.
Like, my God, I don't know what you eat in the morning, but yes, it's a great, and it's just so therapeutic. Like, I really do understand why people do it now. It's that continuous repetitive motion. It's not high impact. You can handle it. You know, it's very mental. It takes a lot. You almost have to play little games with yourself to get up these mountains and everything. And it feels like while you're doing it, you can even zone out. You zone out, and then all those thoughts that flood your mind typically and drive you nuts and take you to those dark places, they come in and they just get outputted right in the back of your bike, just right on the road. You just, like I said in my last blog post, like on these huge mountain passes, the inclines are riddled with discarded demons, and the declines are laced with tears of triumph. And that is the truth. Yeah. It's very therapeutic to ride a bicycle, and I miss it. It's still being shipped from Napa, California. I miss it. So
that's some strong word there. You know, like especially talking about, you know, the tears of triumph on the descent. So you are done. And before, you know, we run out of time, this A Vicious Cycle chapter might be complete. Mm-hmm. I know you have a blog post that's coming up on www.aviciouscycle.org coming up here in the next couple days, week, that, you know, kind of encapsulates everything, kind of puts that little wrapping paper and bow on it. But you have alluded the last time you were on that while this chapter might be complete, this might actually be the prologue to something greater. And obviously, you learned a lot about the family we don't know out there. In fact, man, I just wrote that down earlier a few moments ago because I was like, man, I really need to write something about the family we don't know. But,
yeah,
you know, you are getting ready to launch an initiative that started, you know, came out of the belly of this chapter that you're wrapping up now. Because Troy said it earlier, like you're basically coming out of a deployment. Like right now you're in the celebratory, I made it home safe kind of phase. You know, like you're every Joe that's like downtown buying a Mustang right now.
Easy credit.
I banked every penny I made in Iraq. I put in.
No, I think it's Camaros. It's a Camaro.
I'm a super geek though.
But like
I had a
like
Ford Escort,
mentally,
so.
like, you know, mentally, like you're coming out of a deployment, and now like one thing that always kept me going is that when I came back from a tour, or, you know, whatever it might be, what kept me going was the follow-on mission.
Right.
So I know you've kind of, ramping it up, like
It's a
getting ready
huge
to
part.
go.
Is people warn me about this. You know, when you get back, the way they deal with it is to plan their next trip. And you know,
Which
I
is the
did one.
vicious cycle.
Right. I'm like, my God, that
See
people
what I
ask me,
did
what are
there?
you most afraid of? Yes, I'm sorry. I was being, it was really nice. I'm sorry. Good job. I didn't want to just skip past that, but people, it was real. It was a real celebration. People ask me, what are you most afraid of about this trip? Because they're thinking all these different dangers. It's like literally on a decline. If a chipmunk ran out, I mean, that could end me. It's a chipmunk, you know? So I'm not thinking about that stuff. What I'm thinking about is what I was most afraid of was actually finishing. Then what? Square one, back to, you know, this, back down the spiral, back down the rabbit hole, another vicious cycle. You know, it's like a record playing with beautiful music and it skips, you know, and then it's like, oh God, this is all a distraction. It's not even happiness. And it's like, you know, about halfway through, I really started putting together a lot of ideas and plans. And I'm like, you know, this trip, this journey is this. I'm really onto something with this. Like, this is really helping. This is really working. And I want to help afford things like this for other veterans. And while other programs exist, such as the one that I would like to, that I have started or am starting, there's never too many. It's not about competition. Basically, I want to bring veterans together through nature-based outings and social activities. You know, at no cost to them, I want to take them out into nature, detached together. No spouses, no kids, just us. We could talk about things. We could not talk. We could make fun of each other for 5 hours. That's therapy. You know, a lot of people aren't into the talk therapy. I'm one of them. You know, I don't like to funnel my thoughts into words. It's terrifying. That's why I write. You know, I fine tune everything before yeah. And so basically, like camping, fishing, hiking, canoeing, kayaking, cycling, all those different things. Axe throwing, veteran-owned axe throwing place. Totally going to be one of them here in Nashville. But it'll be kind of a Nashville area um, veteran program. And so I'm in the very beginning stages of this, and I know I have the support in place to help me along with this. And I think it's very important that I went through this journey, that I put myself through this, that I said I was going to do it, and I did it. You know, that's important. When someone says something, they follow through. And I try not to say anything I don't mean. So I think I'm hoping that gives me a bit of an accolade, you know, the fact that I did this crazy thing and that I felt firsthand the healing that stems from it, from being in nature in a peaceful environment, doing a physical activity. It doesn't have to be super vigorous. It can. I have plans for that. But it could be just like on a pontoon boat or canoeing together or something like that, you know. But that's basically what it'll be. I'm going to take groups of vets out, enjoy each other, connect with each other, in these environments, doing activities together. So I'm
Well,
working on that
you,
right now.
I support that wholeheartedly. You know, a large percentage of my time, my family's time, is dedicated to, you know, doing veteran outdoors, and you know, I believe in
Yes.
that 100%. There's no greater, no greater outlet or comforting spot on Earth, I believe, than that.
Well, you know, we've talked about it before many times, and on the show and in our past show and one-on-one. But when you look back, and I don't want to recap the whole story, but it actually, you know, during a film promotion hosting that I did afterwards at a talk in a bar, we it kind of all came to head, and we figured out the reason why our generation seems to have had more issues post-war than earlier generations isn't because we were weaker or, you know, coddled more or whatever. But and I'm 100% believing in this. It really came about that the earlier generations of World War I and World War II and so on weren't flown home out of the battlefield and back in the house in 72 hours. They weren't demobbed and sent home as quick as possible. They sat on a ship for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, and it was just them. So they decompressed in the belly of a ship coming back across the Atlantic or coming from the Pacific, and they talked about when so-and-so got killed and when this thing happened and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. They did group therapy, not realizing they were doing group therapy. They did what these psychiatrists now try to do by getting people in circles and talking through their feelings and stuff. People that are
Right.
strangers that maybe have had a similar experience in their background. But they did it. They all knew each other. We all know the bond of what combat does. You've had the same kind of people. You're stuck in a ship. You got nothing else to do. You already told all the stories about growing up and your friends and family back home, and you talk through everything. They came back, and they went off and became businessmen and successful people at post-War One, War Two,
Yeah.
Korea, and it wasn't the fly you right back home, get you home as quick as possible. We didn't get those chances. And worst case, reserve component really doesn't get the chance because they get released as quick as they
do
can.
not.
Right? I mean,
I deployed with a National Guard unit.
I
It
mean-
was really quick.
I mean, I
It's
came
like, you
right.
good? Cool, get out of here.
Yeah, I came back in
Good luck.
2007.
Here's your box of medals.
Yeah, they want to get
Good
you
luck to
off
you.
Title 10 as quick as possible. And I came back in 2007. It was Mother's Day weekend. We came from Kabul to my living room in 72 hours, completely demobbed out, right? And it was that's the big thing. So when like Toby, when you take guys out and girls out and you guys do hunting trips or salmon fishing trips or do things like that, or Sarah, when you're talking about doing these kind of things, or as we know, or like the guys I was in Afghanistan with, every year we get together a lot, but every year us and our families get together and do a reunion trip. That's part of that decompression. That's part of that therapy. That's part of all of that. You get together and you talk through it. Yes, our families hear the same stories over and over and over. But after 10 years now of doing this trip together, they're starting to fade off. Those stories are. We've told them enough. But we've decompressed out of those. I think it's exactly what you're trying to get to. And Toby, and I think that's exactly what you've probably seen on many of the trips you've been on. People just sit around and talk.
Yeah, no, bro. The 100%. And you both have touched on something that, I think gets downplayed that, while I have a few seconds, I really just want to make sure that, I put my voice to its support. And our National Guard Reserve component does not reintegrate correctly. And when I say correctly, it just doesn't make sense the way it happens. I know that there's financial issues. They got to get them off Title 10. That release, the refrat, the release from active duty, has to happen, so that, the jurisdictional issues, get deconflicted. And I didn't realize the importance of that till a reservist that was attached to me when I was in the 1st of the 23rd Infantry Tomahawks. We serve a guy by the name of Chris Lavero that's been on the show, guest of the show, the founder of Warriors for Peace, wonderful guy. He was a civil affairs reservist that got attached to us in Iraq in 03 and 04. And, he came back and he got refratted. And 4 days later, he's back to being a police officer on the Berkeley Police Force. And then, that's a cool town to be a cop in. But he didn't have that support. He didn't have any of those issues. He didn't have that camaraderie. He didn't have that follow-on mission. He didn't have any of that. He ended up coming up and visiting us and hanging out with us up at Fort Lewis, now Joint Base Lewis McChord. And man, one of the things that he shared was that, and I realized he was hurting. His heart was hurting. There was this huge hole that was there because he didn't have the opportunity to kind of settle and deal with those issues. So first and foremost, I think, any opportunity we have within our sphere of influence to be able to speak into that issue, we need to, because I don't think they do it right. And I think there's a better way. And if anyone lets me speak to that professionally, I absolutely will do it. Two, the reintegration process is a timely process. But when we go out on these trips, like with Veteran Outdoors, yeah, there might be an adventure attached to it. Say it's fishing, or say it's hunting, or say it's hiking Zion National Park, whatever it is. Those adventures are window trapping to the fellowship that happens around the campfire. And that's where the true reconciliation, the true healing, that cathartic process, those mechanisms take place there. And, Sarah, you're onto it. Like, you are 100% hip to, what is a wonderful lubricant for people to, like, be vulnerable, be authentic.
Yes. Is my video working?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really do believe the people best equipped with us are us. And we have an obligation to each other, really, to pull each other out of the ashes. We really do. And it helps us in the process, being strong in nature. We feel productive when we're helping, And so that's why I'm just at a waypoint. It's so important to unite as veterans. I've been using the hashtag Veterans Unite since before I the first time. But buttoning up, the website for this, it's waypoint.org. I chose this point because it's a point on a route between kind of like an isolation to interaction. This is, facilitates opportunities for vets to get out, get together, and get some stuff. And we do have this bond that, we don't have to paint the picture like we do with maybe family members or friends. We don't have to go that. We already know so much. So we started this whole other place, and I know who I'm looking for too, because it's part of my life for a very long time, weeks at a time for years. And so it's going to help me too. It's got locking myself into life was a big part of this journey, and I know this is I'm doing the right thing. I know I am now.
Well, we're super proud of you. We're excited. I know you kind of leaked the name last time as Waypoint, which, I think is super fitting because, what every good, it doesn't matter if you're good or bad, actually, what every returning person needs is an azimuth. And that's not just in our veteran community. That's, like you right now, you did not go to combat on this bike ride. You went to combat in in your life, but you're not returning from a combat tour. You're returning from a bicycle tour, and you need that azimuth. You need that calibration. You need that thing,
Right.
That dead reckoning moment where, you can get off the X and move forward. And I think that's so crucial, so crucial. I'm just looking at the Facebook chat here, and man, there's a guy, this is just random, but there's a guy I served with in 1-5 Cav,
Black Knights,
1st Cavalry Division, Black Knights, loyalty, duty. I can't remember. That was like frick. That was a while back. But Colin Gilman, man, that dude is a stud. And then he ended up in the 1st of the 23rd Tomahawks. And so we bounce around in the same units. And, man, I just like when I see guys like him and that dude's battled some things. In fact, we need Colin. We need to get you on the show, man. We need to talk to you, bud. There's some things that we need to talk to you about because our audience need to hear your message as well. But no, great stuff. Sarah, me, Warrior Media Solutions, Steve and I, you are, near and dear to us. Boo Hammer, he loves you so much that he gave you the best beef jerky
venison,
in the planet.
Venison,
in the planet.
Not beef, venison.
Venison jerky.
That for another hour.
So let's go ahead and let the record show that I concede that Troy's
probably best
game meat situation is better than mine. Now, I can cook game meat better than no other.
It was so good.
I took Toby some. He had some. He
Yeah, no, I did, and I had it, and I was like, son of a gun, it's better,
Well,
So like,
when you live
we'll,
10 years in
think about
Alaska, you figure out how to master that. You figure that out. That's for sure.
I lived in Alaska too. Apparently, I didn't master that, but no, you're special to us.
Yep.
You're always welcome on the show. If we ever pick up a third host, it's going to be you. You have first right of refusal on joining the trifecta, and we are grateful that you took time out of your recovery, because that's where you're at. And if I just came back from a 4,000-mile bike ride, the last thing I'd be doing is talking to two ugly old bearded dudes, one bald, one with glorious hair. And then
my bike tires this time. You know what?
She's cutting out. I think she said the bald part was the best. I think is what she said. I couldn't hear though.
Yeah,
I think so.
No doubt,
Just
no
saying.
doubt. But hey, we got your information up in our chat rooms. You're linked to us on the website as always. We will try and get some of the the 3 or 4 pictures that you sent up. But man, we love you. We appreciate you, and we're super proud because man, you did it wrong. And one thing I want to say before we end this is you faced a little adversity near the end because you had some haters. One of the haters that you had out there was someone that spent some time with you on the road, and tried to play the little games. But I got to tell you, like, hard work, effort, performance always outweighs rumors and naysayers. There's a lot of freedom on the other side of hard work. What would Tim Kennedy do? Right there. That's his quote. There's a lot of freedom on the other side of hard work. So always proud of you. Always love you. Just keep doing it. Excited for the next chapter. Now that we've talked about the prologue, let's get on to the journey of life. Find out.
He's cutting you off, Sarah. What's that, Sarah?
Oh, I just want to make sure I'm still working. I just want people to know that, like, when people are hurtful to you, it's not an indication of your shortcomings, but rather an admission of theirs. You can't let the wrong people into your head, and it's not about proving people wrong. You need to surround yourself with people that you want to prove right, people that are in your corner that believe in you and support you and love you no matter what. Those are the people to listen to. So,
absolutely, man.
Thank you both so much.
Profound words.
You guys are.
That's why you're always invited back here. You are quite prolific. That is, we could do a show on, like, the thoughts of Sarah, and just have her give out ruminations.
Yes.
If we go to 3 hosts, if we move to 3 hosts, man, she's my #1 draft pick.
There we go. Doug's gonna be jealous, but he'll understand.
Well, he's your #1.
Well, no,
I think we should let the audience take a poll.
But
I'll lose. There's no way I'll win then.
We could get crazy and go to 4. We could put a person. I could put a person in each corner of the frame. We could go forward, be a madhouse. But anyways, hey Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. We've had you on for a little over an hour. Really appreciate it. We don't want to take up too much more of your evening. We just got a couple small things we're going to cover, but you always got a home here, and you're always welcome anytime you want to come on for sure, or guest host, or host with us, even just host when we're here. So.
Thank you both so much. I hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're cutting in and out though. Your connection is going bad. I think. I think the hurricane's affecting you. I'm not sure, but anyways.
It is.
All right.
Okay. Thank you both.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much. If you can hear me, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
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 All right. Okay, everybody. Well, there you go, Miss Sarah Lee. We're gonna do a little bit of video. Actually, the video doesn't come out that bad. Toby leans a little bit to his left. No, your left. There we go. No, your left. That one. The side where the bourbon was at. Then you're good. Yeah. Over there. There we go. I got you a little bit. You're a little bit cut off out of frame. If you could move a hair more to your left. Almost. No. Dude, right there. There we go. All right. There.
Oh, that's the spot.
That way I don't have to. Yeah. Right
there.
That way I don't have to readjust the video. All right. Hey. What a great guest. Everyone, thank you so much for coming in. It has been, we covered a lot, I know, but I do want to mention, I think we owe, we want to put out our prayers and best wishes and thoughts for all the people in the path of flow. Florence is hitting right now. It's hitting the coast of North Carolina. It is, I think it's a Cat 2, Toby, which is, just because it's not a Cat 5 doesn't mean it's not dangerous. I mean, it is still packing, it is a Cat 2 right now. It is moving at northwest at 5 miles an hour. It's packing like 105-mile-an-hour winds.
No big deal.
Yeah. The difference between a Cat 2 and a Cat 3 is getting hit by a cement truck or getting hit by a train. It's still going to get hit, right? So,
yeah.
Hopefully people have evacuated, and if they didn't evacuate, well, one, keep our prayers with the first responders because they are staying. We know that.
Yeah.
A lot of National Guard have been activated to go down there. They're leaving their families to go down there and in their state and go respond. There's National Guard from other states. In New York, there's helicopter crews that are on standby waiting to go down. And of course, this storm they're saying it's going to turn south, hit into South Carolina, and then work its way up through the the Mid-Atlantic region. So, it's going to be a long night for a lot of people in the Carolinas for sure. And our thoughts and prayers are with them.
No, for sure. And, special shout out to, our friends and family in the Raleigh-Durham area. I know they're inland a bit, but, we have a lot of friends and family that are out that way, Charlotte. And then in the Millblog community, man, the Greyhawks, down south on the coast there, just south of the South Carolina border in Georgia there. Hope everyone's good. And
yeah, well, my son's down there, and we got other
Charleston. He's got to be getting hammered right now.
Yeah. So they are. Well, they will be for sure. But yeah, it's the thing is, think of the first responders, and like Houston, it wasn't so much the hurricane, it was the flooding, it was the rain, it was the water. Actually, like Katrina, it wasn't so much the hurricane, it was the water after the fact. And that's what they're saying is with this. It's moving slow, it's going to park, and it's just going to dump rain. And, some of that ground can only take so much. So, just because the storm blows through tonight or tomorrow doesn't mean it's over. If you're in the sound of our voice, if you're listening to this show or watch it, and you're in that area, just make sure you listen to your local folks and go back when it's time. It's all material. As long as you and your family are safe is what matters. None of it else matters. Kind of like what we were talking about with Sarah earlier. All the rest of it's just stuff. It's just noise, right? What matters are the relationships and the people that are around you and your family. So, it's looking bad. We'll be watching it all night, I'm sure, like a lot of people will be. And there'll be a long next 48 hours for sure. Toby, anything else you want to kind of cover before we go?
No, absolutely wonderful to have Sarah on. I just am absolutely mind blown by her accomplishment. I think it's so inspiring because, a lot of people would have quit along the road. They would have quit, when their gut was telling them to. They would have quit when the naysayers were telling them to.
They quit when they got run off the road and injured.
And then they definitely would have quit when, they got seriously injured and their knee blown out and had to go to rehab. But she didn't. And she's tough like Road Armor products are. And, we're proud to have her as a guest. We're proud to have Road Armor as a sponsor. And, that's great stuff, man. That's just great stuff that she did and that she's going to do. Next week, we're going to have a fun show. Colin Gilman, that's in the chat room and listening. Hey, bud, hit me up on Facebook because we want to get you on here. We really want to talk to you. And we got some really cool guests coming up. We got some special guests coming up, so we're excited about that. Make sure you tune in. Check us out on YouTube, the Twitch, the iTunes, the
Spotify,
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio,
Spotify. Man, we're like everywhere. We're kind of
Spreaker.
like Wallace status.
Yeah, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere, right? Just look Stu and the Nun. Go to stewandthenun.com. You can find links to all of our outlets, media outlets, video and audio. Down on the page, at the top right corner of the page, there's links to all of our socials up there. You can follow Toby at Toby Nunn on Twitter. You can follow me at Boohammer on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow the show on Twitter, Stu and the Nun. On Instagram, Stu and the Nun. On Facebook, Stu and the Nun. Not hard to find. We kind of keep it the same all the way around the board. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. We're getting quite a following there. Toby and I are, we're on the show here once a week. We do other little things every once in a while, but we are really using Instagram, put up some funny things, kind of some military stuff every once in a while, just things to think about. We put up some great posts. We share pictures from our great sponsors at Road Armor and Enlisted 9 Fight Company. And so, yeah, follow us along there. Check us out. And be sure you tune in every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Stu and the Nun. We really enjoy you being here and welcoming us into your homes. It really means a lot. Whether we have 5 people watching or we have 105 watching, it's stories like Sarah. That's why we do this. Trust me, Toby and I don't make money off this. There's none of that's involved. We would love to, but it's not that way. But we're still here doing it because we love getting these stories out. We love you to hear and meet these people like Sarah who go across the country and meet people from across the country. We try to bring you all kind of folks that to hear something so you can hear real honest perspective and meet some great people. So thank you again for coming on, Toby. Thank you, buddy. And everyone else, have a good night. If you're in the Carolinas in the Southeast, please stay safe. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we look forward to seeing all of you next Thursday evening here on Stu and the Nun. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nun Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenun.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, Boohammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.